accepted, challenge accepted. Reality is always challenge accepted. Challenge accepted, challenge accepted. Reality is always challenge accepted.
Rene just opened Pandora AI box for us.
And just like in the myth, hope was still inside.
In our case, that hope is the knowledge of how to use AI wisely.
You know how to test.
Now it's time to learn how to prompt.
And who better to show us than someone who's
Come
practically a
after this
legend
presentation to
at
the
Challenge
speaker's corner.
Accepted?
And ask me the question. Yeah?
Not only a legend, but also an author of 8, I repeat, 8 best-selling books on test automation. And you can get some of them at the reception, making a donation.
Please welcome the inventor of BELLATRIX test framework,
the multiple winner of QA of the Year award, and a proud winner of QA of the Decade.
the co-founder of Automate the Planet,
And one of the strongest voices putting Bulgaria on the global QA map,
Anton Angelov!
Hi, thank you for having me. This lecture will be about prompt engineering, and you know, many people question the value of prompts, and I'm not going to teach you about prompts only for generative AI, like using it in chats, but also we need to use it in assistants, in AI agents, when we use AI-powered IDEs like Cloud Code or Cursor, and this is why this topic is really important. And before I begin, I need to say a few words. In my opinion, there are 3 types of lectures. The first ones are these funny ones with memes full of personal stories, right? Then you have these inspirational talks with big images talking about the future, right? And then the third type, in my opinion, are the technical ones that are straight to the point without flashy images. And a couple of weeks ago, I delivered a speech at DevBG All-in-One. It was from this second type, inspirational talk with lots of images. And some people that I really respect told me that maybe this was one of my best speeches back then. And other people told me that they liked the talk, but they expected from me something more practical. And this is why today my talk will be fully technical, without flash images, just straight to the point. So I will begin just shortly introducing what is prompt engineering. Then we'll look into maybe the best prompt patterns in my opinion. You'll receive 10 pro tips from me, and then we are going to talk really briefly at the end what's beyond prompt engineering, because there are some practices like context engineering, spec-driven development, etc. So let's begin. First, what is the prompt engineering? This is the practice where you need to use these formulas that are discovered by scientists to formulate better your input so that the AOM answers in a little bit more strict way and you get a higher quality answer. This is the prompt engineering. It's similar to design patterns that we use when we code. So yeah, let's begin. The first pattern that I want to share with you is the persona pattern. I'm sure that most of you use it. We usually use it at first. And one of the tips that I haven't written later, but it's really important when you write an assistant prompt and when you stack multiple patterns, you need to begin first with the most important information that you want to instruct the LLM. This is how it works. So first we start with this persona. You instruct the LLM to be in a specific role. Imagine that if your prompt is much more general, you will receive a much more general answer that probably its quality won't be good, right? And like we have different roles in QA, like senior QA, we have test automation, we have security, you have manual, you need to put the role. But it's not just about people roles, right? You can, for example, when you write an AI agent or assistant in your test automation framework, you can define a role like you're a very good assistant for finding the proper locators, or you're a professional XML parser, or something like that. And this totally changes the final output. Then the second very important pattern is the template. This is setting the structure of how the LLM will return your answer. Without it, you will receive probably much more general and every time different answer. However, imagine that you have an assistant for creating test cases. You can define the different titles, properties that you want to receive at the end. And also it's very important to see that right now we don't have any specific information. We'll put that later in another pattern. But here we have these placeholders, like using brackets. And imagine that if you have a bug report or test case, you have priority severities, which means that probably you have different options that they will be different for each specific project. And usually we place them inside the placeholders, and you say, for this particular project, I have these 5 different priorities. Later on, you can describe what they mean, like a severity matrix describing what they mean for your particular project, so that the system knows how to create them better in the output. And then, of course, the next that combines very well with the template is the few shot. Few shot sounds weird, but you can think of it as examples. Now we use our template, but with exact patterns and data. Usually we provide 2 to 3 examples so that the AI can learn from these patterns. For example, if you are talking about bug reports or test cases, it's much better to, again, create examples with varying data, like different priorities, different steps, etc. Otherwise, probably they won't help much. And you will see also other terms that you will meet: 0 shot, 1 shot. This means usually we don't provide any examples, just straight to the point. And if you're lucky, like this is like if you're lucky with the Google, this is 0 shot. Then you have 1 shot, just 1 example. But as I said, usually the more varying examples you provide, better. Then another thing through my practice that I found is the so-called delimiters. These are symbols that they separate the different sections of the data that you provide. Imagine that you want to generate test cases based on stories, acceptance criteria, or a piece of code, whatever. And if you just provide the plain text, you will find out that probably the output sometimes might be not of a good quality. But if you separate them with different symbols like hashtags or $signs, etc., and you explain the AI between which sections what you have, you will quickly find out that the output is much better. And then we need to put some boundaries. This is one of my favorite ones, especially when you are creating a specialized AI agents in test automation frameworks. Do not explain or expand. Sometimes this is helpful because usually these explanations, they help later on during the conversation for the AI to answer better. However, when we write specialized AI agents or assistants in a framework, imagine that in our framework we have a special feature for finding a locator XPath by prompt. And then I don't want explanations, I don't want quotes, I don't want anything. And this is one of the boundaries, one of the limitations of the answer. Then we have the flip interaction pattern. This is quite useful when you use assistants with multiple patterns together. Imagine that you don't, sometimes your inputs are a little bit vague. And you can put this instruction in the prompt so that it asks you a few questions beforehand to understand fully your context, your requirements. And even in some of my assistants, I usually directly instruct the AI to ask me 5 to 10 questions up front. If you have used the deep research of ChatGPT, Gemini, or whatever, usually they start with asking such questions. They won't start working 15 minutes using so much electricity before asking you those questions to clear all of the requirements. By the way, yesterday I was on another conference. There was a pretty interesting statistic that for generation of one image, the electricity that is used by the AOM is equal to working of your refrigerator for an hour. And you can imagine how much electricity will be used by using a deep research without this particular context, right? Then we have the cognitive verifier. This is very important. We put it at the end of our AI agent prompts or assistance. It's basically teaching the AOM to QA itself. Imagine again, I found it very useful in using it in this agentic feature in our framework. Without it, sometimes, like for example, 1 of 10 times, it was returning expats with quotes or not well formatted. But when you put this cognitive verifier for checking its output again, whether it follows all the expat rules or whether it didn't mistakenly put some quotes, it works much better. And you can use it for test cases, for bug reports, whatever, whether they really follow your templates and patterns. Then if we use assistants, I found this very useful to make them interactable. Imagine that these old school applications come online. For big assistants that they can do multiple things, you can insert such menu. It's called a menu pattern because it lists all of the options that the assistant can do for you. And when you pick an option, it will do the particular action. For example, create a bug report or create a test case for you. And this works very well with another pattern that I haven't included. It's called tail generation. The tail generation is usually used by some of the more advanced models by default. It's like summarizing what was the conversation. And this is because of the way how LLMs work. They forget things. They forget them because of the context window. The AOM is not it's not having its own memory, right? And then this tail generation is generating this summary of the conversation. And how this fits, basically we can return the menu at the tail generation every time. So you can pick the next option or repeat the whole process, etc. And the last pattern that I wanted to mention is called alternative approaches. This is very helpful for architects or designers that you need to come up with a brainstorming an idea. Imagine that you're building new automated tests. And like today, one of the topics will be test data preparation. And this is very important for high quality automation, right? So you need to pick whether to use real data, mock data, or prepare it yourself with the API or directly in the database. And even if you don't know all of the ways, you can ask the AI to brainstorm ideas with you. And it can even create pros and cons table and basically brainstorm together with you. This is very useful, and we can integrate it into some of the assistants. And then directly to the pro tips, as I said, technical talk, straight to the point. So I am sure that most of you used very big documents sometimes with the AI. And I'm sure that it's very hard to determine whether the AI is reading them or not. And I can tell you that for sure, it's not reading them in full. Like, for example, it cannot read more than 10 pages at once. Even if you upload a bigger document, it will probably answer you like it knows something, but quickly you will find out, especially if it's not something that it was trained on before, that it doesn't know it. And this is because actually behind the scenes, this is from ChatGPT, other Gen AI chats have it as well. It's basically, you can see that it's generating Python scripts behind the scenes to read all of the documents, the Word files, the PDFs, the OCR for the images, etc. And when you want to work with bigger documents, like 100 pages, 300 pages, you need another approach. And the approach I found out that it's very useful is to create an index. What is the index? The index, it's like if you remember reading a book. At the end of the book, you have the index with the terms. Every term have a specific page. So basically, you describe all of the different topics from which page they are, for example, 1 to 10, then 20 to 30, etc. And with a few sentences, you describe what's inside this particular section. When you want to use the document, you upload both the index and the document. And you instruct the LLM first to check the index to see where the relevant topic is, between which pages, and then to read these exact pages. I made an assistant that helped me to craft UML diagrams. The reference guide for this specific programming language is designing the UML diagrams was 300 pages. You can imagine that without it, without the reference guide, totally all of the diagrams were, I won't use the word. But when we use these both approaches, it worked like a charm. Then, when you don't know when you are learning about prompts, especially now you're watching a lecture, when you're starting up front, probably you won't write the best prompt patterns at first, and that's okay. But you can open a new chat and maybe put your instructions there and ask the ChatGPT or the other generative AIs to put all of the best practices inside this prompt. It's working so-so. I mean, when you describe the particular patterns, it works better. It's better than nothing. But basically, you can turn these generative AI chats into your personal trainers. Like, you can ask it even to put some comments and explain why it used these particular patterns. And little by little, I'm sure that you will learn some of the patterns. Then, you can go one step further. It's like writing high-quality code. When we repeat ourselves and writing the same logic again and again, we can put it inside an assistant. The assistant basically is something to reuse our prompts every time. When you type that, it will use the prompt again. So in my case, when I began to learn prompt engineering, I created for myself custom GPT for prompt crafting. Basically, I instructed it to know about all these 30 to 40 patterns, and every time to use them and format my prompts, right? And to improve them. And this is a general tip for any assistant that you're writing, for any prompt. Again, this is like coding. When you have repeating logic in your tests, you are moving it first to a method, then you are moving it to a class. And it's the same here. If you're repeating yourself and writing the same prompt again and again, probably you need an assistant. In ChatGPT, this is called project. In Gemini, this is gems. And depending on what you use, you can define this prompt. In main prompt is called the root prompt. Usually it consists of multiple patterns stuck together. At the end, there is a slide with a formula that will help you. Then, the next obvious step is to go multimodal. If you haven't heard the term, multimodal means that we don't use just plain text to instruct the assistants and the agents, but instead we use it together with files. Like you can provide a PDF, a Word, CSV, XML, images. It doesn't matter, it works both ways. It can generate files, CSVs or other files. Then many people make the rookie mistake first when they try to talk with ChatGPT or other generative AI chats, that they try to have this conversation. They think that it's working because they're reframing the output is not well the first time, then they clarify what they want, then they clarify again, and they're repeating this process 10 times. But the way, again, these LLMs work, they start to forget really quickly because of the context window and because it doesn't have a memory, right? And this is why when you know about these formulas, these patterns, it's best to spend 30 seconds or 1 minute to really define properly what you want, and then to do it. And even if you don't get the right answer, even after you put some prompt patterns, this doesn't mean that the AI doesn't know how to do the job, right? Instead, you can open a new chat, start fresh when you have the proper prompt, or you can ask in the new chat, this was my input, this was the answer. How to improve it? Please help me. How you are going to rephrase that to have a better answer? And then we have, I already put this pattern like boundaries, but I will show you one of my favorites. To explain the AI not to hallucinate. Some people will argue with me that their research that the LLMs are not very good in following commands like do not do something. In my own experience, I usually put some constraints like that and they work for me. For example, I always say, if you don't know how to do something, please put this into the Excel sheet or this particular row or something, and it's working fine. Especially now with the capability of searching using this tool, you can ask it first to double check if it doesn't know and then try again. Then I already told you about the usage of delimiters, like symbols, but you can go beyond that. Many often you will see many of the assistants and AI agents like prompts that they are using actually Markdown. And this is because the Markdown format within it's using a lot of symbols. For example, the headings, they are using hashtags. For the bold, we have asterisks, right? And this doesn't mean that you have to type it yourself or using any editor, because this is hard. Nobody does that. But you can build an assistant for translating your prompt into Markdown. This is what I'm doing. However, we come now to pro tip 10. I saw some of my colleagues try directly to ask the assistant to save the Markdown directly into a file, because you will find out really quickly that you cannot copy the Markdown from the chat, but you need to save it and instruct the chat to save it. However, you will find out, because the chat, the Gen AI is very lazy sometimes because of the Python scripts. Instead of having 100 lines in the Markdown file, you end up with 10. However, if you use the step-by-step plan, you will see that it works much better when you basically ask it first to generate the Markdown and then save the file. And this works obviously for many other types of information. It's not just the Markdown. And this is like the formula for creating a basic assistant. First, you start with persona, who you are. Then add a template, add examples with patterns so that the AI can learn the patterns. Add some boundaries, constraints, do not explain or expand. And then use these delimiters to separate if you provide additional information into the assistant prompt. And then what's beyond? Right now, if you have heard the term vibe coding means that you put some vague instructions to like IDEs or coding agents like Cursor or Cloud Code or Lovable, and then they create this full-blown application, right? In my opinion, this works best if you know already how to code, how to create architecture. Otherwise, you will end up really quickly with just a few pages that are working, and after that, nothing works. And this is why new type of engineering practices emerge. This is the context engineering. Now we are not asking just what and defining these prompts, but now the question is what to feed inside this 100K tokens context. This is basically what we send every time to the LLM. what type of documents to feed to know, like your coding standards, your full architecture of your current application with all of the files, etc. This is actually what the different coding agents are doing basically in this cursor, markdown files, instructions, etc. In parts, as I said, the context engineering is much beyond that because you put much more information into this context. And then we have the spec-driven development. What's that? Like a few weeks ago, maybe 2 weeks ago, GitHub released a new library. It's called SpecKit. And they found out that just prompt engineering and vibe coding, it's not, as I said, it's not working very well. This is why we need to define the context or the requirements up front. The SpecKit is generating with AI all of the requirements in Gherkin format for you. You use it basically together with the context engineering and all of the other practices, these 3 practices together, to craft very strong prompts. This is how this works. And yeah, we discussed the prompt engineering, the 10 prompt patterns, prompt tips. You can find some resources here. I really like the 2 books here mentioned. For the second one, I was a technical editor. It's a really strong book. The first one from Microsoft is really deep diving into LLMs, and the last chapters are even discussing serious math. Maybe you can miss it, it's fine. And then there are a couple of courses about prompt engineering in Coursera. I really recommend them. They're really great. And there are a couple of frameworks, actually, and online sites that can help you directly to learn prompts and craft your prompts, like Prompting Guide AI, and there are a couple of others. And you can contact me on LinkedIn every time if you have questions. And yeah, thank you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, Anton. Do you want to answer a question or 2 now, or in the speaker's corner?
Maybe in the speaker's corner.
Yeah, okay, you heard him. You can find him in the speaker's corner during the next break. Thank you very much. Let's have him off the stage with big round of applause, Anton Angelov.